externalizing works for ADHD brains because we often struggle with working memory, which is the ability to hold information for short bursts. Think about how many times you have to take the macaroni and cheese box out of the trash because you forgot what the next step is, even though you've been doing it for 50 years. Just a guess. Ever lost an idea in the time it takes to refill your coffee? If you have ADHD, I assure you that feeling is all too familiar. Today, we are going to talk about why externalizing your thoughts can be an absolute game changer for you, what it looks like in daily life, and how to build simple habits that will keep those ideas from slipping away. I'm Jorie Houlihan, your guide for the dopamine deprived, and this is ADHD and with Jorie Houlihan, because it's not just focus, it's everything. If you want practical strategies for an ADHD brain, be sure to hit the follow button so that you never miss an episode. All right, so let's start by defining what externalizing your thoughts really means. It is the practice of getting things out of your head, getting those ideas, those things you need to remember, etc., out of your head and into a physical or visual form. Think of it as creating a second brain for you that is outside of yourself. So instead of relying on memory, which is definitely not a great idea for us, you write, record, or place reminders where you're going to see them. So some examples would be sticky notes, wall calendars, voice memos, digital reminders, or even objects moved into plain view as visual cues. Now, we're going to talk about how to do this in a way that is going to work for your brain, because just doing it that way ain't going to work for your brain. We're going to get to that. Hold tight. Externalizing works for ADHD brains because we often struggle with working memory, which is the ability to hold information for short bursts. Think about how many times you have to take the macaroni and cheese box out of the trash because you forgot what the next step is, even though you've been doing it for 50 years. Just a guess. Anyway, so for people with ADHD, our internal storage fills a bit more quickly than others. So offloading some information helps to free up your brain for tasks that actually matter. Having visual prompts anchors your attention in the present instead of mentally trying to juggle everything. And what's really great is that external systems can then help to break that cycle of forgetting and then stressing and then scrambling at the last minute for things. Now, how can you apply this without it getting complicated? That's super important. Sometimes we come up with the most ridiculous systems, and I don't know why we do this to ourselves. We will never stick with complicated systems. Anyway, let's look at how we can do this in more easy, everyday ways. So first and foremost, the goal is not to create a perfect system. Let me repeat that. The goal is not to create a perfect system. You really have to watch out for perfectionism and all or nothing thinking here because, man, it is going to run rampant if you don't. There is no perfect. Please, please, please remember that. The goal is to find ways that will allow your brain to relax while keeping track of what actually matters. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is start with one tool. And when I say one tool, I mean one tool. I will often give more than one example in these episodes, but that's because everybody's brain is different, right? But I know ADHD brains, and I know that we're like, I'm going to do all the things. You're going to do all the things, and you're going to set yourself up for failure. You have spent your whole life doing that, so humor me, please, and just choose one tool. Choose one that is either paper or digital. If you know me at all, you know I absolutely believe for ADHD brains, analog is best, handwritten, analog clocks, okay? Not digital. To start, you can add digital after. However, I know that some of you are very digitally inclined. I still think that handwritten is better, but for those of you who that may not work for, then go ahead and do digital. But when you pick, you stick with it for a while. Number two, you want to keep it visible. A calendar stuck in a drawer is not really going to help you much, right? But a calendar that is mounted on the wall is going to be much more helpful. Now, this is where I'm going to have my little caveats for things. I have had the whiteboard on the wall directly in front of me in the past, and after a while, my brain stopped seeing it. I've had the sticky notes on my monitor that my brain stopped seeing. When it comes to things that tend to stay static, right? Let's say you do have a wall calendar. After a while, your brain will stop seeing it. If you have a whiteboard and it sits in the same place all the time, your brain is going to stop seeing it. If you use sticky notes, for example, around your monitor, you have to change things up. So some things might be easier to move around than others. Like if it's a pretty basic wall calendar, you might be able to just move that to another place in your office. A whiteboard might be more challenging. So what you can do then is maybe change up the color ink you're using as opposed to trying to move the entire whiteboard. Just the change in the color might get your attention more quickly. If you're using sticky notes, again, if they don't move and they don't change color, your brain's going to just start to tune them out. So change the color of the sticky note, move it around your screen so that it's just something that's new. Our brain likes novelty, right? It likes new things. So that might be a way that will help you to actually use the sticky note instead of forgetting it's there. The other thing that you can do is anchor reminders to objects or places. A lot of people will say, well, leave your gym shoes by the door. But you know as well as I do, you're going to walk right past those guys when you are walking out the door. You're just not even going to see them. So what I would recommend doing instead is, for example, put your gym bag on the door handle. You're not going to miss it if it's on the door handle. If you make your lunch the night before, right, and you want to remember that it's in the fridge and that you need to grab it, don't put a sticky note on the door because you will walk right, you won't even see it. Again, put it on the handle. You want to put these reminders in a place where you have to physically touch it and it will feel weird because it's not typical, right? Like your gym bag isn't normally hanging over the handle of the door. So try things like that. You are going to be much more likely to remember them if you do it that way than just setting your shoes. Some people have said, oh, well, I just put it in front of the door. I have literally had clients that are like, yeah, I tried that. And I walked right over them and just kept going. So it's a little harder when it's actually a little bit more challenging to open the door. So anyway, that's my suggestion for that. It works much more often than the traditional ways that we've talked about. Don't put your bills next to the coffee maker because you just will never see them there. Actually put them where the coffee might ruin them if you leave the bills there. Or put them on your keyboard so that you can't type because you have these bills that are sitting there. Something that's just going to disrupt your regular flow. But you can't just put it next to things because our brain just won't see it most of the time. Sometimes it does, but a lot of the times it doesn't. These are just a few more ways to make it a little more foolproof. Do yourself a favor. The next time you hear yourself say, oh, I'll totally remember that. I don't need to write it down. Please, for the love of God, write them down. And one other thing that you can do. So I know that sometimes I come up with brilliant ideas, just ask me, when I'm driving. Well, I can't just stop and write it down, but I will not remember by the time I get home. So I have learned to use my phone. I'm not going to say what the name of my phone assistant, SIRI, is because I'm using my phone to record and I don't know what it'll do if I do that. But I will say the name of it, and then I will say, remind me of whatever the idea is or whatever I need to remember is when I get home. And my reminder app knows where home is. So make sure that they know that. But if that isn't the case, you just say, remind me about this particular topic at 5 p.m. tonight or whenever you want it to. That has helped me so much. That alone, oh my gosh, has been so helpful. Anytime you hear yourself saying, oh, I'll totally remember that. This is a brilliant idea. I'll never forget it. Or, no, I have to do this because I need it for my kids' school so they can go to school. Things like that, because you will forget. It's not a reflection on how much you love your kid. Your brain just doesn't work that way. The idea is to reduce the mental load. And the more you can do that through external means, right? Writing it down, putting it in digital form, etc., however it works for you. And if you have handwritten these things down, but you need the reminders, right? Then you can put them into digital form. But there is something about handwriting things out that just works better for our brain. So please try to do that if you can. The more we can reduce the mental load, the more we can offload all of these things that are going on in our head, because we always have a gazillion amazing ideas going on at the same time. But when that's going on, we end up nudging out the things that are actually really important that we have to remember now. Being able to offload those things into another form is incredibly, incredibly helpful. Give it a try. Again, one tool. Promise me one tool. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I really appreciate that you guys are carving out time to understand how your brain works. It really means a lot. And you are doing yourself a huge favor. So next week, I'm super excited. We are going to be talking to professional organizer Mindy Leonard of Super Organized Spaces. She is fantastic. And I know you guys are going to get so much out of this interview. I can't wait. You're going to love it. So if this episode sparked an idea, maybe share it with a friend who could use a second brain like we do. And don't forget to follow, review, and check out the ADHD Action Blueprint for step-by-step ways to create systems that actually work with your brain. The link for that is in the show notes. So until next time, remember, get those thoughts out of your head. And always stay curious.